Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a battlefield, not one of guns and bombs, but of instincts and illusions. Around you, civilizations crumble and rebuild. Kingdoms rise and fall. Wars are waged in the name of power, pride, and profit. And yet, at the center of it all, unchanged, unmoved, and strangely eternal, is the image of the woman. Not as warrior, not as ruler, but as something far more enduring. She is the whisper behind the throne, the prayer inside the storm, the soft silence after every collapse. Through famine, she cooks. Through war, she nurtures. Through exile, she carries life. While men charge into history, she preserves its breath. Now ask yourself, why? Why has every culture, no matter how brutal or sacred, wrapped the feminine in myths of fertility, purity, endurance, and care? Why is the image of the woman so often reduced to mother, seductress, or sanctuary? Why is she not just in the home, but of the home, tethered to survival itself, like gravity to earth? You think you chose your roles. You think love is free, desire is real, and instincts are yours. But what if everything you chase, fear, adore, and obey isn't you at all? What if woman is not a person, but a program? A symbol etched into your unconscious by something ancient, older than language, more powerful than logic. A force not interested in fairness or equality, but only in replication, security, and survival. She becomes everything life needs to go on, and nothing life doesn't. So she learns to be agreeable, adaptive, magnetic, intuitive. She becomes an expert in what is felt, not said, in what is hidden, not shown. And men, so often obsessed with meaning, chase her like moths to fire, drawn not to her truth, but to the promise of life she unconsciously carries. Is she the nurturer or the gatekeeper? The comfort or the test? Could it be that the feminine isn't weak at all, but dangerously strong, precisely because she embodies the will to survive at all costs? Carl Jung once warned that whatever you don't bring into consciousness appears in your life as fate. So what happens when this ancient image, this archetype of survival, stays buried, hidden behind romance, motherhood, and modesty? What if it has already shaped your desires, your values, your future, and you never saw it coming? What if the woman you love was never just a woman, but a mirror, reflecting the species' deepest strategy for self-preservation? If this unnerves you, it should, but it's only the beginning. Because to understand how women became symbols of survival, we must go deeper, into the abyss where psychology, biology, and philosophy blur, where myths are born, and where the truth, your truth, waits in silence.
To truly grasp why the feminine is bound so tightly to survival, we need to enter the mind of Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century philosopher who stared into the abyss of human nature and refused to look away. Schopenhauer didn't believe in happy endings. He didn't even believe in meaning. At the center of his entire worldview lies one brutal idea. Life is not a gift. It is a trap. A trap set by what he called the will to live, a blind, unconscious, unstoppable force embedded in everything that breathes. It has no morality, no intelligence, no goal beyond one: to continue. It doesn't care whether you suffer. It doesn't care whether you're fulfilled. It only cares that you exist long enough to reproduce, and then raise another organism to do the same. You may think you choose your dreams, your lovers, your lifestyle. Schopenhauer says, no, you are simply a puppet, and the will is pulling the strings. Now here's where it gets haunting. If this will truly runs everything, then your deepest desires aren't really yours. They're strategies designed by nature to keep the cycle going. So when you fall in love, sacrifice for your family, or build a future with someone, you're not transcending nature. You're obeying it. And in this system, according to Schopenhauer, woman is not just a participant. She is the purest expression of the will itself. Not because she is weak, not because she is inferior, but because her entire being is structured for preservation. Her instincts center around care, protection, and continuity. Her psychology leans towards security, emotional bonding, and present-moment thinking. Her role across cultures and centuries has been to maintain the species through adaptation and stability. In his words, man might rebel against the will. He might chase ideals, die for abstract causes, or create things with no survival value. But woman? Woman serves the will perfectly, not by fault, but by design. Her strength is instinctual, her wisdom biological. Her power is not in denying life, but in grounding it. She becomes the womb, the hearth, the sanctuary. Even her beauty, Schopenhauer argues, is not accidental. It is an evolutionary signal, a biological beacon attracting the strongest mate for reproduction. The sparkle in her eye, the softness of her skin, the curve of her voice, these are not poetic gifts. They are tactics. To him, what we call feminine charm is the will's most powerful spell. And romantic love? The bait. You don't fall in love because you're free. You fall in love because you're caught. And woman, consciously or not, plays her part to perfection. Is this misogyny, or is it metaphysics? Cruel reductionism or ruthless clarity? Either way, Schopenhauer doesn't ask for your agreement. He dares you to look deeper, not just at women, but at yourself. Because if he's right, and the will to live is real, then everything you cherish may not be yours at all, only a mask for survival.
What happens to a man who mistakes survival for love? Who gives his soul to something beautiful, only to realize it was never about beauty at all? This is where Schopenhauer's philosophy stops being abstract and starts becoming devastatingly personal. Because if the will uses desire to ensure reproduction, and if woman becomes its most effective symbol, then the one thing men are taught to worship, romantic love, is not divine, it's strategic. And that strategy is simple. Get the man to surrender, but not through force, through longing, not through domination, through devotion. This is where the feminine gains her quiet, invisible power, not by demanding control, but by inspiring a man to give it away. At first, it looks noble. He gives her his time, his energy, his plans. He wants to protect her, please her, build a world around her. He doesn't realize the shift until one day he wakes up and his life is no longer his own. His mission, the thing that once gave him meaning, now feels distant. His friends neglected. His inner fire dimmed. His identity merged with someone else's.
And here lies the cruel irony. In sacrificing his edge to earn her love, he loses the very thing that made her love him. She was drawn to his independence, his purpose, his direction. But now he orbits her. And deep down, something ancient in her loses respect. Because while she may crave love, what she cannot trust is a man who abandons his center. And what she cannot desire is a man who lets biology make his choices. This is not about blaming women. It's about understanding the hidden forces at play. Because a woman is not the enemy. She's the echo of a deeper instinct, an archetype forged by evolution, wrapped in poetry and mistaken for destiny. What men must learn is this: you don't fight the feminine. You don't reject love. You don't suppress desire. You integrate it. You see it. You honor it. But you never let it steer the ship. Because when a man forgets his purpose, he becomes soft, not in body, but in spirit. And a man with no spiritual center is not safe. Not for himself, not for anyone. This is the psychological cost of worshiping the symbol without understanding its meaning. And in Schopenhauer's brutal honesty, we find a hidden compassion. He doesn't tell you not to love. He tells you to wake up. To love as a free man, not a programmed animal. To know that behind the beauty you chase may lie something older than either of you. The will to survive. And if you don't become conscious of it, you will serve it blindly, faithfully, and lose yourself in the process.
So, where does that leave us? If love is laced with biology, if desire is wired to serve survival, if even the most tender feelings might be tools of the will, then is the only answer coldness, celibacy, isolation? Absolutely not. Schopenhauer gave us a warning, not a commandment. He didn't say, don't love. He said, know what love really is before you surrender to it. Because the real tragedy isn't falling in love. The real tragedy is losing yourself inside it. A man with no center will always be at the mercy of whoever captures his desire. But a man who knows himself cannot be captured. He can love a woman deeply, but not from emptiness, not to feel complete, not to escape loneliness or fill a void. He loves from abundance. He doesn't orbit her, he invites her to orbit with him, around something greater. His mission, his path, his highest values. This is what modern culture has lost. We teach men to chase romance like it's the goal. We teach them that to win a woman is to win life itself. But that's not love. That's surrender. And women don't want a man who surrenders to them. They want a man who is anchored, who holds his ground even in the storm of passion. The feminine tests the masculine not to destroy him, but to locate his center. And if there's no center to find, she pulls away, not always consciously, but inevitably. So, what does it mean to reclaim the self? It means you don't run from love, but you meet it with awareness. You know when it's real, and when it's biology dressed in poetry. You know when you're choosing her, and when the species is choosing through you. It means you don't trade your purpose for a kiss. You don't give up your path for a warm body or a soft voice. You bring your full self into love so that love becomes an addition, not a replacement. You become a man with gravity, one who leads himself first. And from that inner leadership, you choose a partner, not to complete you, but to walk beside you. Not every woman will want this man, but the right kind of woman, the one who's also done her inner work, will respect him, trust him, and love him with depth. This is not about superiority. This is about sovereignty. Because only when two whole people come together, not out of fear, not out of instinct, but out of conscious choice, can love become what it was always meant to be. Not a biological trick, not a spiritual trap, but a force that elevates both souls beyond survival into freedom.
Schopenhauer was not a man known for hope. He didn't offer comfort. He offered clarity, sharp, cold, and often brutal. And his message to men, beneath all the bitterness, was not avoid women. It was something deeper, something more demanding. Know yourself, or be used by forces you cannot see. Because when you don't understand your nature, you serve it blindly. You think you're falling in love, but you're falling into a trap designed by instincts older than civilization. You think you're being romantic, but you're being recruited into biology's endless campaign. The species doesn't care about your purpose, your pain, or your dreams. It only cares that you pass on your genes. And woman, according to Schopenhauer, is the will's masterpiece. Not in malice, not in manipulation, but in function. She is life's insurance policy, soft enough to calm you, magnetic enough to capture you, powerful enough to reroute the course of your existence without ever raising her voice. But here's the danger. If you don't see it, you'll confuse comfort for connection, lust for love, and surrender for devotion. You'll hand over your path in exchange for her approval. You'll bury your potential under her expectations. And one day you'll wake up domesticated, distracted, disconnected from the fire you once carried. And she will feel it too. The loss of polarity, the quiet death of mystery. The man she respected is now a man she pities. Schopenhauer's final truth isn't meant to make you fear women. It's meant to wake you up to your own unconsciousness. Because this isn't about women. This is about you. You are not an animal unless you live like one. You are not a slave unless you serve your cravings without question. You are not free until you understand the forces that move you and choose to rise above them. That's what it means to be consciously masculine. To know your hunger and not be ruled by it. To feel desire but never worship it. To love a woman without collapsing into her. You hold your center, not just for yourself, but for the world that needs grounded men more than ever. Because masculinity without consciousness becomes conquest, but masculinity with consciousness becomes creation, direction, depth, and unshakable integrity. This is the path Schopenhauer couldn't walk himself, but it's the one he pointed to, even through his despair. So hear his warning. See the trap, but don't stop there. Rise. Love without surrender. Desire without delusion. Lead without losing yourself. and build a life so centered, so sovereign, that no force, no woman, no fear, no instinct can pull you off your path. This is your real freedom, and it begins the moment you stop obeying the will and start choosing you.